You are listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. We want to help demystify marketing to reduce risk, drive more and better opportunities, and grow your business. Are you ready to master marketing?
Hey, let's get into the marketing mindset right out of the gate here. I'm Pete Monfre. This is my co-host Bill Lowell, the undisputed king of marketing research. Undisputed. No one disputes that.
Good. They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. That's right. Let's show them what for.
That's exactly
today we're
right.
talking about measuring the impact of your marketing, right? Measurement, attribution, whatever you want to call it. We'll be defining some of these terms. Specifically, how to connect specific tactics with specific outcomes, or even if that's possible, and how difficult it can be to get it right. And I think a lot of companies get this wrong, so I thought it would be a really good topic. And so, it's kind of a nuanced topic. So as usual, you're going to find a lot more information on b2bmarketingmindset.com. And just so you know, every week we're live on LinkedIn. We're trying to help you make better marketing decisions and grow your business. And I always look forward to this every week. But like I said, it's kind of nuanced. This is not a simple topic. And so, we've even been struggling with it, this morning. How are we going to communicate some of these ideas? Hey, I missed it. I got to change the slide. There's the URL if you want to check it out. I have to chew gum, talk, click things all at the same time.
Good. So you're multitasking, kind of.
I'm not even chewing gum. So what's the excuse?
This is your ongoing training program. Is that what that is?
It is ongoing. Exactly. I'm just training on everybody's time. That's it.
Yeah.
But let me set the stage a little bit. Let's see if I can. So back in 2016, Facebook kind of came under fire for admitting that it discovered a bunch of errors in audiences. So one thing is they overstated how long users watch videos, like up to 80%. They really overestimated organic reach. I don't remember the percentage, but it kind of started a conversation about the flaws in how we measure marketing and advertising. And I don't think it's really gotten much better since. I mean, that's 2016. And so I wanted to cover kind of some of the high points here. And I thought we would start with the customer journey, the buyer's journey or the customer's journey. It really, in my opinion, should be called the prospect's journey, right? Because they're not a customer yet, are they? But what does that mean? And by the way, next Friday, October 27th, we're going to go really deep on this topic, the post-COVID buyer's journey. We have a panel coming up with great panelists, and you can sign up. We'll put a link down in the comments. But what's your definition of the buyer's journey? You share yours. You show me yours, and I'll show you mine.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And this is interesting because I think this is a really important thing, and you can measure some of that buyer's journey. So I think it's every touch point along the way. You talked about prospect, but I think it's every touch point along the way in order to become a customer or a client, depending on. And so that could start with somebody calling you. That could start with somebody checking out your website. It could be watching this podcast. It could be a whole number of things. But then, along that journey, when do they get to the point of getting a quote or a proposal or whatever? Do you follow up with them? I mean, I think all of that is important, including, in my opinion, which is a big one and that not many people pay attention to, is do your employees do a good job of helping with that journey, because they can make or break that journey too. So in my opinion, it's all those steps, all those touch points along the way that really makes a difference.
So I guess, it does kind of cross over into customer, because a lot of companies will want to have repeat business, or they want renewals or whatever. So it's the kind of the life cycle of the customer, but it has to do with the touch points. So I define it kind of like how they kind of bounce around different mediums as they go through awareness, engagement, evaluation, conversion, renewal, all the different ways they might hear about your company. And because there's no single buyer's journey, right? And this is where I think one place that companies go wrong is they try to define one buyer's journey or a handful. But if you have
Yeah.
100 different buyers, they might have 100 different journeys, right? So the example that I can think of is, they might discover your offering by basically searching on Google, and then they might go to your website. They might sign up to download a paper. Now that's probably going to get counted as a lead, even though in my opinion, it's not really much of a lead. It is a lead, but it's a low intent lead.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that you haven't gotten to the objective yet. And then let's say they start receiving email communications and they largely kind of ignore them. And then they see a paid ad and they finally buy, convert, make an inquiry, whatever it is that you're counting.
Right.
That's what the buyer's journey looks like. And so it's super chaotic. I think you can predict it at a macro level, but not on a micro level. And I think a lot of the marketing industry is trying to predict behavior on a micro level. And I think that's one place where I think you go wrong. And we'll talk more about why, more specifically. But I think we have the same definition here.
Yeah, but a little. I mean, and I really like your idea from the big picture standpoint, because I have mapped a lot of customer journeys with my clients, and we don't do it just to map it. That I think is kind of a silly experiment, just like you said, because the journeys are so different for a lot of different people. But you can find some commonalities, and then what I like to do when I find those commonalities is which ones really have more emphasis or trigger points than others. And I think that can give you some really valuable insight. But like you said, there could be 100 different touch points, parts of that journey for 100 different customers. I mean, it's almost exponentially crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to it or something, but you need to understand that there is no one buyer's journey. So I think the other term that I want to define, I'm always big on defining terms because these terms get misused so often. So what do we
And I
mean
learn
by
something every day when you're defining these. This is good. This is all brand new to me, so it's wonderful.
Well, that's good. I'm glad somebody's learning something.
So thank you.
I even learned some stuff from myself. So
beautiful.
I'll start with my definition. So attribution is sort of how we attribute or measure the performance of any given marketing or advertising tactic in terms of what works and what doesn't work. So this is where you attribute, hey, all of our leads come from email marketing, right? Or most of our leads come from LinkedIn ads, or 20% of our leads come from, you name it. I mean, so this is how you assign what works, what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of
yeah, I think so too. And remember, even in the olden days, remember we used to give the receptionist a little keypad to say, okay, keep track of, if somebody calls in, ask them, that's right, how did you hear of us? Or so I mean, so that was something too. So you're right.
In the current day, we still do that. And we'll talk about a little bit about this. There are a lot of things that you can't measure. Everybody thinks that marketing is all in the digital realm. It's digital marketing. There's no other kind of marketing. Digital. That's it. Digital marketing, digital, same thing. No. And so that should be part of your attribution strategy, is that very simple human thing that somebody's asking that question and writing that down. Also, by the way, there's some platforms out there that you can they assign. CallRail is one of them, and not affiliated with them. So, but if they'd like us to be affiliated, give me a call. But CallRail basically spins numbers on the fly, and so you might embed a phone number that's a unique number in your LinkedIn ads, and that gets tied into Google, and you can measure those phone calls. But not everybody's going to come in that way. So you still have to ask, all right? That is if you want to be somewhat accurate. So that's what attribution is. So let's talk about what I think is the big problem. And that's what companies generally do is what I would call last, or not just me, but the industry calls last link attribution. Okay, so in our previous example, so this prospect is bouncing off all of our different communications, and then finally they decide to take action. Well, we tend to, not we, because my firm doesn't do it this way, but most of our clients do this, where they only count the last link, like the last click. I've heard this called last click attribution too, but and so in other words, they'd be like, man, the email doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? When in reality, let me give you an example of this.
Yeah.
So we had a company call us up a couple weeks ago, and they had responded to a series of emails that we put out. Interestingly, they didn't respond until the third email in the series. So if I was going to do last click attribution, I would have said, first of all, I would have assigned everything to the email campaign. So this podcast, our social media work, our publicity, all of that would just be like, I'd be like, none of this stuff works. Let's just axe it, right? It's just email. And by the way, it was the third one. So what's in that email that, and
Exactly.
so, and the funny thing was the email wasn't really about something they were looking for. They just thought it was so good that they wanted to talk to us, and they had something else in mind. So that was even threw us off a little bit more. But when I asked them about this, they said, "Oh, well, we've heard of you. We watch the podcast. We see your social postings." And one of the guys said, "I'm not even sure. It just seems like I've been hearing about you and hearing from you for the longest time, and I don't even remember how." Right? So how do you
Wow.
count that? What part of that, if I was looking at it like most clients look at it,
Yeah.
really I wouldn't be doing nothing but sending emails, when in reality a whole range of communications shaped their perception
Right.
until they finally were able to act.
This goes back to some things that we do and that you do, and I think the whole industry does, and that is, the integrated marketing communication is just so key. It's like there are so many things that have to work in concert in order to make you effective. So just like you said, so it's not that last click. It's, what else have you done over the time to make yourself, to get yourself exposure, to get people interested, to get a word of mouth buzzing. I mean, so you're absolutely right. And so to pick one little thing, I think is a huge mistake. So I think you have to back up, like we just talked about. I think you have to look at the big picture. And I think we'll talk about a measurement for the big picture, but I think it's almost like somebody that's doing their investments. It's like, I think it's a matter of, and this is going to sound pretty elementary, but like, are you making money or not? So, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is, are you getting sales? Are you getting revenue or not? And if you're not, well, then you can still take a look. Is something working or not? Or is something going to turn around? But I think that's the big picture. Are we getting business?
But I see companies looking at all the way down to individual ads. We spent $100 on this ad.
Yep.
Did we get 200 back from that ad? And if we didn't, let's kill that. All right. That's a huge mistake. All right. This is when, I was talking about email earlier. One of the most common things I hear all the time is, hey, we tried email. It doesn't work for us. So I ask a few more questions. Well, give me a sense of the size of your database. Oh, we sent this email to like 75 people and nobody responded. Right. Okay. Well, how many emails did you send? One. Wonder
and by the way,
it didn't work for you.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the third one too, or it was the second one, and then we quit.
It was it's crazy. It's like, no, the answer is you're not doing it right. Now, I think we might have a sync problem. I'm not sure. Do we have a sync problem with our voices getting synced?
Uh-oh.
You can't hear us because you got headphones on, and there's a 7-second delay. So, we okay with the? Oh well, she'll let me know.
Okay.
There's this thing that I discovered in doing my research today. So it's going to make me sound really smart, but I just really learned about it today. It's called the McNamara fallacy. A little bit of sync problem. We'll work with it for now. If it gets bad, we'll just bail. So this guy Robert McNamara in the 60s was the Secretary of Defense, and so there's a social scientist named Daniel Yankelovich. I hope I'm saying that right.
Oh wow, there used to be a singer like that. Yankelovich, right?
Yeah.
You're
thinking of Weird Al?
Yeah.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, that's it.
This is Yankelovich, which maybe is his cousin. I don't know.
Sorry.
But he said this: the first step is to measure whatever can be easily measured. Okay, this is a fallacy. This is okay as far as it goes. The second step is to disregard that which can't be easily measured or give it an arbitrary quantitative value.
Yeah.
This is artificial and misleading. The third step is to presume what can't be measured easily and really isn't important. This is blindness. And the fourth step is to say that what can't be easily measured really doesn't exist. This is suicide.
Huh.
So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so, and this takes us back to something we've talked about before, which is, are we measuring the things that matter, or are we measuring the things that are easy to measure?
Yeah.
And so, back in the day, we've been in this business long enough that, we were there at the very beginning of digital marketing. And so it was this marvelous thing that all of a sudden you could measure a bunch of stuff really cheaply and really easily. And so it happened to be those are the things that to this day we're still measuring. Things like clicks, things like page impressions, right? A lot of them are vanity metrics that don't really matter.
Exactly.
And I think you said it best. What matters is, are you making money? Are you growing or not? And
Right.
then we're not saying that measuring doesn't matter, but there's got to be a hierarchy, right? Then through careful testing and research, you can start to refine, but there's just no absolutes in this game, right?
I remember, I think in my early days when clients started asking, and they weren't asking us for return on investment, they were asking ad agencies, PR firms, and the like, and they wanted us to help figure out a way to measure. So, but remember, because it almost started with, trust me, we're doing, you got to trust me, we're doing a good job, to, okay, now all of a sudden they put in some measures. And now I think it's getting a little bit more sophisticated, but you're right. I still think you need to tweak it, and not everything works for everybody. But I go back to our conversation in our podcast, and I hope people will go back and visit this sometime on B2B marketing. Remember when we talked about budgeting? It's the same kind of, where we talked about, like, how are people figuring out their budget? Oh, we'll just use what we used last year, or whatever. But we talked about, maybe you need some key performance indicators. What are some of the objectives, and are we hitting some of those objectives? That was one technique, but a lot of other people will go back and try to figure out, how much is this going to cost us? And then how many new customers are we going to get out of this? And I know you're going to talk about lifetime value of customers too. So it's
really hard to be accurate. Now, we are having a technical problem. Can we let's just hang on. We're going to go to our tech difficulty screen. We'll see what's going on here. Hang on. If the stream stops for some reason, I think we should try to come back. And so if you are listening, just bear with us here. We're going to figure this out.
You want me to log on again? Try it again.
All right, we're back, and let's just see if anything got better. It may have, or it may not have. Who knows?
You look 5 times more handsome, Pete. So I think it's
better.
working.
Oh, we're getting a thumbs up from the
That's good.
Control room over there. Wow.
We should do this more often. We look younger when we do that. That's good.
I hope people enjoyed our technical difficulty screen. That's one of my favorite screens. We don't get to use it very often, but it's just
when it comes up. Those are key things that go get a refill on your coffee and come back, and then we'll be ready to go.
We got to use the restroom. I don't know, get some popcorn. So the thing that starts to come into play is the non-digital tactics. Okay, again, like I said, everything's digital marketing, digital this, digital that. Look, there's a lot more to marketing than things that are digital. Digital is just a suite of tools. I often say that there's actually no such thing as digital marketing. There is marketing, and there are digital tools you use for marketing. Okay,
right.
But digital marketing, not a thing. Okay, not a lot of digital marketing agencies going to be all pissed off at me. But hey, more power to you. I bet I'm older than you. All right. So these non-digital tactics, gosh, there's so many.
You want me to give you one?
Help me think of some. Yeah, help me think of some.
Right. I'll give you one that we do for a lot of our clients. You run a a customer satisfaction survey or a brand survey every year, and then you look at the results and you can kind of see changes in the marketplace and buying trends, etc. That is not digital. That's, I mean,
But
it
still
could be
can be
because
measured.
you can do it online, but you can still measure that. So I think that
Right.
that's something that's important. But there's some intangibles that we can talk about as well with that.
Well, press coverage. How do you measure
Yes,
that? I mean, how do you
exactly.
know? I mean, if somebody says, "Hey, man, I called you because I saw that article in the Wall Street Journal."
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that could be the last click, right? Or the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
link of that journey.
Yeah.
Organic social.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of things that are kind of hard to measure,
Customer
and
engagement, I mean,
customer
customer
engagement.
loyalty.
Now you can't. I want to be clear about this. You can measure all these things. The problem is it's expensive. Okay,
Yes.
and so the more things you measure, the more budget you need to have, and there is a point of diminished returns, right? So you can spend an enormous amount of money and effort measuring every little thing and trying
Yeah.
to be scientific. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, the tools, Google. Hey, heads up, people. Google not accurate.
Yeah.
LinkedIn tells me that like 3,000 people a week search on Monfre Marketing Communications, the name of our firm, in 1992. Okay.
Wow.
I know we were very awesome, but I'm pretty sure we weren't that awesome, right? That was a long
Yeah.
time ago. So can you believe LinkedIn's numbers? No. All right. So research, part of the answer. But the other thing
Yeah.
is, when you're looking at all these numbers, what you should be looking at is the trend. What is the trend over time? Are your key
Yeah.
performance indicators going in the right
Yes.
direction, right? Do you send an email out and it gets our email open rate is it's around 65%. Sometimes it's 68%. Um, we do a thing where it's an A/B testing, constantly iterative
Yeah.
testing. And so
Yeah.
if for some reason that dove down to 30, that would be meaningful to us. We'd have to go back and say, what did we change, right?
Right.
Now, interestingly, and this is why we're doing this panel, it's called the post-COVID B2B buyer's journey. Us, like a lot of other people, we've seen very consistent numbers with our marketing, and then all of a sudden, after COVID, the numbers start going down. But we haven't changed what we're doing. One of our numbers that have gone down, we went from about a 6% open rate to now at about a 4.5, right? Still better
Hmm.
than the average, but that's a big change. And
Yeah.
then we tried different things to see if it, but it stymied us a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, and that still isn't the last. We don't really pay much attention to that, other than it just tells us a sense of what's happening. But across the board, companies are reporting that buyers are not behaving the way that they used to before COVID. And so
Right.
that's why
Right.
we're having a panel on October 27th, 11 o'clock Central Time. It's a live panel. We've got some amazing guests. Tim Hayden from Brain Trust Partners. We've got David Smith, who is a futurist and amazing guy unto himself. Wayne Myers. And you know this about Wayne. So he's with Gifram Extrusions, it's a plastics extrusion company. It doesn't sound very
Yeah.
exciting, but Wayne is doing some really innovative things with how they're going
He
to
is,
market. And so I
and
can't
he's
wait to hear
really,
about that.
yeah, he's really sharp, and he's done innovative things for a long, long time. So
And he's a
he's
sales
just kind. Yeah.
and marketing guy. So
Yes.
same here, and we're a rare breed.
Yeah.
Mike Purnell,
Yeah.
right? What hasn't Mike done? That's what I
That's
like
what I'd
to
like.
ask him. I
That's what
want to
I'd
ask
like
him,
to. That's what
right?
I would like to know. The guy is just a great entrepreneur. He's a huge philanthropist,
He's an
and about the
investor.
most.
I
Yes.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
he needs to know where things are going. So he has a
Yeah.
really interesting perspective. But I
But
just
I
wanted to
think
throw that out there.
I think the people are going to really enjoy him too because he's so down to earth that it's really interesting to have somebody that talented that's just so so humble. So it's kind of
What I
nice.
like is
I
you
think we
guys
got a great
share the
panel.
same accent. That's what really I like about it. Uh,
There
but
you go.
there'll be a link down in the comments. Yeah, the video stream's skipping a little bit. We're just going to soldier on through. And so hopefully you'll check that out. But things are changing, and
Yeah.
somehow we have to account for these things that can't be measured. If we're just going
Right.
by the regular attribution model, well, nobody
Right.
would be doing PR,
Yeah.
right? And agencies
Exactly.
have tried to measure that by doing ad space equivalent and all these kind of, I think, specious ways. But That's just because clients are like, I need to know what, every dollar we spend, we need $2 back.
Right.
And
Right.
nobody has the courage to say, hey man, it doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying,
But
I don't like gravity.
yeah, you mentioned PR, but like it's very interesting because I had a friend that just had got a record number of impressions, and it is outstanding. I mean, it's somebody would be jealous if they saw how many impressions he has. But to your point, what is that doing for him for getting business? I'm not sure a lot, but it's like it would still be like, what do you do with that? Okay, maybe it goes into a sales kit. Maybe you're using it on your news feed. I mean, what else could you do? It's so I guess I subscribe to the point of the skipping stone theory. Like everything you do should have multiple effects down the road. And so, you might, just like you were saying, you might be looking at that last click attribution, but you didn't look at the previous two of something else that it really impacted
Sure.
that could make a huge difference for you guys.
Well, we did a study once where, somebody got a whole bunch of press coverage, and what we found out was they did get a lot more incoming customers from that press coverage, but we
Yeah.
also found out that those particular people had a massive cancellation rate,
Oh,
right?
see, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just not as simple as you might think. And
right.
so we are going to get into so here's some things that you can do to
Good.
get better at attribution. So step one, admit you have a problem, right? I'm Pete Monfre and I have an attribution problem.
There is a 12-step program for you on that, but
There
we're probably
is.
only going to go through two or three, huh?
Yeah, well, we don't have time. But again, you can go to b2bmarketingmindset.com. We're going to have a whole bunch of information posted up there. We try to do it the same day. Sometimes it's the next day, but there's always more information there. But yeah, admit you have a problem. Don't, if you're starting, if you found yourself thinking in the way that we've been talking, it's time to reevaluate. All right. And, we're always
Mhm.
happy to help with that. So it doesn't matter if you hire us or not. We want you to get it right. So admit you have a problem. Number two, measure aggregate response.
Mhm.
Okay. It doesn't mean don't measure individual tactics, right?
Yeah.
But it prioritizes the aggregate response. Uh, you can measure quality of leads, for example, and then your close rate would be a really important KPI, right? And marketing
Yeah.
doesn't really have a lot of control over your close rate, by the way,
Right.
right? And so I
That's
like the
actually that's a
attribution,
really good point.
are our sales growing or not?
Yeah.
We're doing this combination of things and we're growing. Well, let's keep doing those things and refining them and still measuring, but let's not freak out over it, right? And let's do it according to what our budget can manage and stay focused on the prize.
But do you have another one there? Because I didn't know. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, any more
You know,
thoughts on aggregate
let's
response?
give, okay, let's be practical here for just a second, because you might have some directors of marketing or sales or whatever, and they've got a president or they've got a high level executive that's telling them, you've got to show us your ROI. So, how does somebody convince them that, you know what, there are so many elements? I mean, so is it just that one measurement, sales are growing or sales are not, or is there something else to do? Because there's always going to be some of those executives that are going to say, you need to show us that you're getting a
Well,
much better return on this.
I wish I had a good answer for that. I just talked to a friend of mine who's in the fractional CFO business. He said, how do you deal with the financial guys that want to know, how do you demonstrate return on investment to them? And I said, look, here's the honest truth. We're a marketing firm. We don't close deals. If you want to
Yeah.
turn the control of your company over to us, then we'll definitely be able to show you some ROI. We will be able to show you, in fact, we guarantee that you're going to see significant improvement in your KPIs that we agree upon,
Yeah.
or we're going to work for free for you until you do. But it only goes so far. All right, we're not a sales organization. Now we do help companies with their sales programs and processes, but at the end of the day, that's the client's responsibility. Now, if you're inside a company, I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I think you just have to. I think it's an ongoing. I think you do the best you can, but at
Yeah.
some point you have to have a frank discussion with that president and either that person's going to be reasonable or they're not going to be reasonable. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you need to decide if that's the right organization for you. But I think too many marketers they start to obfuscate instead of standing up and saying, hey, sir, it doesn't work that way. And I would even say, why'd you hire me?
Yeah.
Why are you paying me $250,000 a year if you're not going to listen to me? Because I was just curious. What am I doing here? Take that to the bank.
That's a good.
I mean, either we're growing or
that's
we're
a
not,
good one.
man.
We just put hundreds of marketers out in outplacement right now, though.
Out on the street with you guys.
We listened to you, and bye-bye. They said bye-bye.
And that's fine. I think, well, it's just I think the other part of that is it sounds like a lot of excuses to some people, and it's not. It's marketing is the most complex operational aspect of the company. Okay, it's not like finance where we've got a balance sheet, we've got a P&L, and we can look at these numbers. It's black and white. It's not operations where we can measure input, output. We buy a machine. We know when the break-even point is because it produces X number of widgets an hour, and we sell and blah, blah, blah. It's much, much more complicated, and it's only getting more complicated. I always advocate for, hey, guess what? It doesn't need to be complicated. Let's look at the stuff that matters. And as far as, we're external, we do a lot of audits, by the way. So people are looking at their marketing program and they don't know what in the hell's going on. They're not sure what's working, what's not. We have ways to find out. And we're going to look at your sales process and how you sell also. Okay, so we're going to troubleshoot. We have found operational issues that don't even come under marketing. And so it could be anything that's impacting your performance, but marketing is the convenient scapegoat. And so, I just think people need to listen. They need to do their homework. And if you just do some simple Google searching, you'll find out that there are big problems with attribution and the way that some leaders see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe a good topic for another program.
Actually, that would be an interesting one. How do we work with top management or other? It could even be with client groups to convince them.
I just get fired a lot. That's my method. I'm just like, if you're not going to listen to me, I'll fire myself.
But, I don't want to
waste my time with people that don't listen.
It is complicated, but there are ways. But you said something earlier, because we do a lot of things to help our clients measure. And I'll give you one example. So if a client wants to do an ad, whether it's TV or radio, or they have some kind of we can test that with some focus groups and see, how successful and which ones resonate more, which messages are better. But you said something, I think, earlier in this podcast that I think makes so much more sense. And that is, how deep do you want to dig, and how much expense do you want to really go through on some of that stuff if you're just looking for justification for the marketing budget? That's
maybe that budget could be used somewhere else that we know is going to be effective, instead of explaining, justifying, coercing, and honestly, as a firm, maybe it's my advanced age. I don't do it. I don't tolerate it. Look, we're going to deliver to the objective or we're not. And if we are delivering to the objective, you're going to know it. It's not going to be vague. But yeah, I think it's a huge problem, and I wish I had an easy answer for that. Last thing before we go to final thoughts here, go deep with customer understanding. Okay, I mean, this is really your area, man. It's like, can you understand your customers too much?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I wanted to give you one example too, because you talked about tracking customers. We have one client that we just finished a study for, and we track them year after year after year. And in past, the 20 to 30-year-olds for this organization of who they tried to target only wanted, either text messaging, email, or some other kind of digital platform, like you were saying. Guess what? In the last results, 20 to 30-year-olds said they want to be talking to somebody on the phone now, and it has to be a live person. That blew us all away, the client and myself, because I'm like, how could that change? But you talk about the buyer's journey changing since COVID. It's like, that was one just scary. But if you weren't measuring, you weren't going to get it.
Are those are considered millennials, I think, and millennials are changing the game. We're going to talk about that on the panel, and it's kind of interesting. That goes against a lot of the research that we're looking at, and so you've got some interesting counter research, and so maybe things are swinging back. I don't know, but certainly the biggest the biggest change is that they don't want interaction with your company, with your salespeople, these kinds of things. So operational changes too. Like I know my son,
Yeah.
he's 23, hates talking on the phone, hates it. And so, but he likes texting. And so, but sometimes a phone call just works better. So, hey, let's hit the final thoughts, and stay tuned for some final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
A fun little animation, and well, that was fun. I'm gonna keep that. I like that. Final thoughts. So, what are your final thoughts on this topic, man?
I think you mentioned it before, but it's really much more complex than people give it credit for. They think it's going to be a simple thing, and maybe it is as easy as, let's just look at, are we increasing our revenues, or are we growing or not? And so you kind of look at it in the big picture. I think, in my opinion, I think you have to look at it in the big picture, just because there will be some tactics that will work and some that won't. But when you look at the big picture, and you called it before, the KPIs, what you guys agree to, I think that's probably one of the best measurements. So
yeah, and I think sales and marketing and management all have to agree on the same KPIs. That might take quite a process. And my other thought is, somebody who's actually a marketing expert is going to be able to see what's working and not working. Okay.
Yeah.
But some of it might be intuitive. It might be hard to prove, or you might not want to pay the amount of money it's going to take to prove it. Okay.
Right.
So sometimes you have to go off the expertise. But if marketing is not one of your core capabilities as a company, sometimes it makes sense to bring in someone, even temporarily, who is, and they can look at everything that you're doing. And like I said, we do a lot of these, and we figure out what's working, what's not, and more importantly, how to improve, like what can be improved.
Right.
And the truth is, we find a ton of waste. We find 6 figures of waste. I mean, 10 times our fee we find in waste. Okay. And that is, I would say, 100% of the time. And so that's my thought on it. I mean, I think that you measure what you can afford to measure, you measure what makes sense, you agree on what's being measured, but you're always, at the end of the day, you're making decisions based on the aggregate performance of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Because again, marketing can do a bang up job, but if you can't sell your way out of a wet paper bag,
or if the salespeople aren't following up, if they're not following up on the leads that you provide to them, I mean,
or it's always the same dynamic too. The salespeople are like, marketing, these leads suck, and the marketing people are like, you guys can't sell. Okay.
Yeah.
Never true. Everybody's wrong. Sorry, I hate to say it. I mean, sound like a know-it-all, but I do this all the time, and we're always, in fact, our process starts with salespeople actually, because we think they're the closest to the customer, and they're going to be able to give us really good intelligence. And then we talk to marketing people, then we talk to the executive team, then we bring everybody together, and that's we start to get real understanding. So it's a big topic, and we've really just scratched the surface. So I know we've got a bunch of good information, and we're going to put that up on b2bmarketingmindset.com. And if you've made it this far, give yourself a hand. Thank you. You've made it. You've gotten through the gauntlet, and you saw the technical difficulties screen today, which good on you. And so we hope you'll join us every week on LinkedIn. We hope you'll subscribe. You can subscribe everywhere fine podcasts are consumed, and the links are down in the comments. So let's say you like Spotify. I'm not going to judge you for that. Good for you. The most subscribers we have, iTunes. iTunes killing it. All right. But you subscribe.
Oh, are you doing measurement? Were you doing measurement?
We
if you look
measure
at
it. Yes, that one's easy to measure actually. iHeartRadio, you can. I think Pandora. Some of them.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Are we on Amazon?
I think so.
We are on Amazon. Yeah. See, I don't even know. It's spread so far, I just don't even know anymore. But I have people that do know, and that's what counts. And so, anyways, good to see you, man. Thank you.
Yep, you as well. And let's make sure everybody signs up for the panel discussion next week. It's going to be powerful.
I think I'm just I'm really looking forward to that. We are going to do the podcast again Thursday, and maybe we can set up for the Friday event. And we hope you'll go and register. It's going to be a Zoom online conference, and we'll see you there. Until next Thursday, over and out.
You've been listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. Add to the conversation by commenting, sharing, and liking. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the links in the comments. Learn more at b2bmarketingmindset.com.